Most behavior change strategies are built on self-control, trying harder, doing better, and being more disciplined. But if that actually worked, you wouldn't still be stuck in the same patterns or returning to them again and again. If you've been following this series, you know I've been sharing something I call the Body Wisdom Framework. This is a different approach to change, one that works with your nervous system and your body, not against it. My name is Michelle Shelton. I'm a dietitian and a coach, and today I want to talk about one important ingredient that quietly determines whether any of this works at all. That ingredient is non-judgment. The Body Wisdom Framework is a practical tool to create lasting change around food, stress, emotions, burnout, overwhelm, really any habit without relying on willpower or trying harder. It's especially helpful if you're tired of feeling like you know what to do, but can't seem to make it stick. Because the issue usually isn't a lack of discipline. It's a lack of safety, awareness, and relationship with what's happening inside. So far in this series, we've talked about creating space, interrupting the automatic loop so you're no longer just reacting, and we've talked about permission, removing that inner power struggle. These two steps alone often bring relief. Today, we're moving into step 3, the step that quietly determines whether any of this actually works. And that step is non-judgment. Because without non-judgment, space turns into control, permission into anxiety, and curiosity, where we're headed next week, never quite lands. So today, I want to talk about what non-judgment really means, why it's essential if we want to move from self-control into self-trust, and I'll share a simple tool you can use to begin applying this today. If this way of thinking about change feels different or relieving, I'd love to invite you to subscribe. I share weekly teachings like this on food, stress, and self-trust, all through the lens of body wisdom, not self-control. When I talk about non-judgment, I'm not saying you have to like what's happening in your experience, and I'm not saying that there are no consequences to our actions. What I am saying is this. Non-judgment means stepping out of labeling our experience or our behavior as right or wrong. Not good or bad, not success or failure, not I did it right or I messed up again. Because the moment we label something as right or wrong, we stop seeing what is. We move out of awareness and into evaluation. And here's why this matters. When something feels wrong, our system resists it. We tighten, we brace. We want to ignore it or to fix it or to push it away. And when something feels right, we cling to it. We try to repeat it. We try to hold on to it. And both reactions pull us out of the present moment. So if we're labeling our overeating as wrong, or losing your temper as wrong, or procrastinating, people-pleasing, zoning out, scrolling, snapping, numbing, right? There are so many behaviors we tend to push away, right? If we push them away too hard, the nervous system goes into defense and it blocks curiosity. You can't listen deeply to something that you're trying to fix, control, or get rid of. In short, judging your experience takes you into a stance where you're working against yourself and you lose access to your full wisdom and your full awareness. So this step 3 of this framework, is an invitation to step out of right doing and wrongdoing and into simple noticing. Noticing this is happening, this urge is here, this reaction showed up, this behavior unfolded. Nothing more. Right? And if you really need a label, because our minds sometimes really like labels, right? So if you really need a label, instead of right or wrong or good or bad, here's a helpful one. Just label it as a signal. It's not a flaw. It's not a failure. It's not something to correct. It's a signal that something is happening inside the system. That's it. So here's the reason non-judgment comes in before we start to tune into our system, right? We've noticed a signal, and before we tune into that signal, this is why non-judgment is that important step. Because curiosity, when we begin turning in, that curiosity requires safety, and judgment removes safety. So if you approach your experience with the question, what's wrong with me, your system will close. But if you approach with what's happening here, your system can open. Non-judgment doesn't give us answers, it gives us access. And access is what makes curiosity possible. So here's our practice for this week. When you notice an urge, a reaction, or a behavior, try this. Pause, and instead of evaluating it, say quietly to yourself, this is what's happening right now. Like a neutral scientist collecting data. No fixing, no correcting, no making meaning from your experience. Just allowing your experience to exist without putting it on trial. That's non-judgment. Once we've removed judgment, once we're no longer resisting or clinging, we're finally ready for the next step, tuning in, paying attention with curiosity, listening to sensation, emotion, and impulse from the inside. That's where insight and wisdom begin to emerge naturally. So if this framework is resonating and you want help applying it, not perfectly, just honestly, you can book a consultation with me using the link in the video description. And if you're not ready for that, subscribing here is a great way to stay connected and continue learning at your own pace. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you in the next video where we talk about tuning in.